Hi, class. My name is Karen Rose, and I will be your instructor this semester for English C1001. Okay, so this class, all right, is called Argumentative and Critical Writing. Okay, so you might be wondering, what the heck? What is that, right? Argument. I don't want to get in arguments. I don't like arguments. Okay, but actually, right, I hope you're going to see that this class is actually really fun and really important, right? Not only does it satisfy the college's critical thinking requirement, right? This class is going to teach you, right, how to create a compelling and persuasive argument. Okay, so within the context of this class, argument is fun, right? It is productive, right? What does it mean? It means finding, right, through a process of rational inquiry, the best solution to a problem or an issue, right? And if you think about it like that, right, this is a very useful skill because let's face it, our world is filled with problems and issues, right? And so being able to identify problems and issues and to actually take a position, right, an informed position, and to be able to persuade people, wow, right, this is actually a pretty cool skill to have. Okay. So that's the goal for this semester. Okay. Now, as you probably know, right, you signed up for a class that is compressed, right? It's an 8-week class. Okay. So basically, we're taking a 16-week semester and we're like condensing it, right? Compressing it into 8 weeks. So you can expect, that we're going to be moving kind of quick, right? More quickly than, we would be if we were in a 16-week class. Okay. Now, the other thing about this class, the section that you signed up for, is that it's an asynchronous online class. Okay. So that means, right, it's all online, right? Everything that you do for this class will be done through Canvas. There's no, like Zoom classes where you have to log on, at a certain time, right? It's asynchronous. So you can log on anytime you want, right? As long as you complete the assignments before their due dates, it doesn't matter, right? Middle of the night, early in the morning, it's your schedule. Okay. So that's nice. Now, if you ever have any like issues or problems, right, I am available. Okay, so I am, teaching this semester. I have three classes that meet on campus. So I will be on campus. And I do have office hours, right, this semester on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? And the times, it's on the syllabus, it's on the Canvas page. I have like kind of early afternoon, late afternoon times, also morning, I'm there. So, please at any time, come on by my office. I'll be very happy to sit down with you and talk to you, face to face, answer any questions you have. I'm happy to look at your drafts of your essays, your discussion board posts, any of that. Right. Please feel free to come to my office hours. You don't have to make an appointment or anything like that. You just can just show up. Right. I will be there. Now, maybe, the times that I'm there doesn't work with you. Maybe you have class or you work at that time. If that's the case, please, just reach out to me and say, hey, I'd like to meet with you, but I can't meet at those times, right? I'm happy to arrange something with you. I'm also, totally happy to schedule a Zoom with you. We could talk via the screen like I'm doing right now. And so, that is an option. So please, reach out, right? My goal is, to help you succeed in this class, right? To satisfy that critical thinking requirement. Now, this class, right, English C1001, right, it's a little awkward, right? This class was called English 3. Okay, so I, have been teaching at Long Beach City College for 23 years. Yes, I'm that old, right? And, in the 23 years that I've been at the college, I've always taught this class, right? And it was always called English 3. So forgive me if I occasionally like refer to it as English 3. This is the first semester that the name has changed. And you might be wondering why? Why is the name changed? It's actually a good change because Long Beach City College is now embracing this new system where all the colleges in California are going to have a consistent numbering system, right? So this class will be called English C1001. At all schools and universities, right? UCLA, Cal State Long Beach, wherever you go, there's going to be a consistent numbering system, which is very helpful, I think. Okay. So, okay, so that's what the class is. Um, about me, I've been, like I said, I've been teaching at this college since 2002, right? So a long time. Prior to teaching at Long Beach City College, I got my PhD in English at UCLA, right? And I've been, teaching ever since. And again, I've been teaching this particular class for 23 years. So I love this class. It's fun. Um, Let me see. What else do I want to say? I want to say a little bit about, what we're going to be reading this semester. So you don't have to purchase anything, right? This is a zero cost class. So, there is a textbook. I have a paper copy, right? It's called Writing Arguments, a Rhetoric with Readings. And somebody scanned the entire textbook, right? And so I obtained a PDF of the entire book, right? And I, uploaded that PDF to Canvas. So, one of the first things I encourage you to do would be to, download that PDF, save it so that it's easy for you to access this book. I really like this book. I've tried different books. I always seem to go back to this one. I think it's very clear. The chapters are informative, interesting, clear. We're not going to be reading the whole book. I've just picked the chapters that I find the most useful. And you will see that, right, there are quizzes for this class, right? There are actually 4 quizzes that cover material from this book. Okay, so I'll explain all of that later, right? But you can expect that. So you really do need the book. And then, the fun thing, right? My favorite part is we're also reading a novel. And so the novel that I chose is called Never Let Me Go, right? And it's by Kazuo Ishiguro, right? He won the Nobel Prize in Literature, not that many years ago. So he's a great, writer. And you can see the covers are very different for these 2 books, which, I think they create a different vibe when you read them, right? But anyway, so yes, we will be reading this novel. You don't have to purchase it, right? I also, obtained a PDF version. Somebody scanned the entire book, right? And I'm sharing that PDF with you on Canvas. Now some people, like me, I like to have a novel on paper. I like holding it in my hand. I like being able to use a pen to write in it. My vision has gotten worse over the years, so it's easier for me to read on paper. You can see I have a lot of books. I love, book paper books. So if you want, to purchase this book, go for it, right? I have a link on our Canvas page. It's pretty cheap, actually. You can get a paperback, copy on Amazon for around $10. You might also even look at a library, right? I think almost any library is going to have at least one copy of the book because it is a very popular novel. It was also made into a film, right? A film starring Andrew Garfield, Carey Mulligan and Keira Knightley. So big, Hollywood stars. And I'll say a little bit more about the movie later. I definitely recommend, actually, I demand, right, that you read the book first, right? And then, you can treat yourself and watch the film. So there are also going to be 3 quizzes about the novel, right? So you'll see that the novel is divided into 3 parts, and there will be a quiz that covers each of the 3 parts. Now, this is a composition class, so the assignments that are worth the most points are the essays, right? So I do require 3 essays for this class, right? So essay number 1 and essay number 3, right? You will be choosing a controversial issue, right? That you will be taking a position on. I'll say a lot more about the essays later, right? Essay number 1 is a classic argument. You're taking a position on an issue, right? Whereas essay number 3 will be a proposal argument, right? You're picking an issue, taking a position, but you'll also be proposing, right, some kind of a solution, right? Something that we might do to try to like lessen the severity of this problem that you've chosen to focus on. Okay. Essay number 2, the second essay will be about the novel. Okay. So I think I have like 10 different essay topics for you to choose from. So I do like to give you choices, right? I think it makes it more interesting and more enjoyable when you have a little bit of freedom to, choose what you'd like to write about. Okay. So in addition to the essays and the quizzes, right? Again, this is an online class, so you can expect that there will be discussion boards. Okay. So, typically for the discussion boards, I'll ask you to read something. And then, or I'll give you a question that you need to answer, right? And so for the discussion boards, your response to the question will always be due on a Friday, right? Friday at 11:59 p.m. And then I also do require that you provide some kind of feedback, some kind of a response to one classmate. Okay, so just one is required, and that will always be due on Sunday, right, at 11:59 p.m. So Friday and Sunday, those are the dates that the due dates will be, right? Pretty consistent throughout the semester. Now, you might be wondering, readings, what other readings? So we got a textbook, we got a novel, right? There will be a few other readings that also you don't have to buy anything, right? So I've found some articles about issues, right? And so they might come from the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, the Atlantic, right? And so I'm giving you, a link to the website where I found it, as well as a PDF version, right? Because you probably know websites like the New York Times, right? It's free to, read an article or two, but then there's a paywall where, you've maxed out your free articles. Now you got to pay. Okay, well, I've paid, I've subscribed. And so I've downloaded the file and I'm sharing it with you. Okay, so that you can expect that. You can expect that you will be reading a few articles, right? When you look at the syllabus, right, I have given you, right, both like a PDF of the syllabus as well as a more like a web-based version. They're both the same, basically, right? And you'll be able to see, right, how many points everything is worth. You'll be able to see the grading scale that I use, right? I also, for all of the assignments, there's a rubric that I use to grade. And the rubrics you can see on Canvas. So you'll be able to see, exactly how I assess, the discussion boards, the essays, right? You'll be able to see how many points each component is worth, right? So that's, a good idea to look at that before you do your essay. So what you can expect from me is that every Monday morning, right, I will post an announcement. And, hopefully you have your settings set up so that when I post an announcement, you also get it as an email, right? So every Monday morning, I'll post an announcement. It might say, welcome to week 1, right? Welcome to week 2. And I will give you an overview of what you can expect for that week, right? So what you need to read for that week, what are the discussion boards? If there's a quiz, just an overview. And then I will post another one of those like announcements on Friday. So the Friday will be a reminder, like, hey, don't forget, it's Friday. This is due, just kind of reminding you, right? Because it's easy to forget, right? The days go by so quickly. And again, this is an 8-week class, so you really got to like keep up. So, do look for those announcements, those emails every Monday and every Friday. I'm going to just really quickly, if I can figure out how to share my screen really quick so I can just pull up the Canvas, just briefly. I'm sure most of you probably already looked at it. Okay. Okay, so here we are on our Canvas page. Let me go to home, right? So it's, I try to be as organized, and clear as I can, right? So you can see, right, link to the book, link to the syllabus, my office hours. I spend most of my time when I'm, in Canvas, I just usually go right to modules. So, pretty much everything you need for this class you can find within the modules. So, right, you can see, like course information, that's where you can find the syllabus, the video that I'm recording, right? I do require everybody to post like a very brief introduction. You'll find that, meet the members of the class. I also have a discussion board where you can post any questions you have. Maybe you don't want to send an email. You want to post it on the discussion boards. Maybe other students are having a similar, issue or question. Feel free to use that, right? There's a module that is, textbook and novel. That's where another place where I have links to the book and the novel, the PDF version. Resources, I think this is, kind of implied. Resources are tools, things that you can use, right? I've given you a study guide for the book, right? For the fallacies of argument, right? As well as links to websites that will help you, with MLA style, as well as finding issues. And, I'll say more about those later. And then the next module is just, the essay assignments. So you can see the due dates, right? September 19th, October 3rd, October 19th. So you can see essay 2 and 3, it's a little bit close together, right? So, with essay 3, we will be doing some other assignments that lead up to that essay. So hopefully, that'll help you move along. And then the rest of the modules are just arranged by week. And for each of those, you can see there's resources, right? That's where I've posted a study guide for each of the chapters from the textbook, right? So the study guide is kind of like, like my lecture notes, right? For each of the chapters. So I do recommend you look at those study guides for each chapter. And then, just if there's any discussion boards, you can see those there. Right. So again, each week has the resources, discussion boards. If there's a quiz, right, it's all listed there. So you can see, right, that, I have posted pretty much everything, right, for the whole semester, right, the whole 8-week session. So it's all there, right, from day one. So you can really kind of just like look and see what exactly you are going to have to do for the semester. You know, some people want to work ahead, that's fine, but I don't really encourage you to do that, right? Just kind of go by week, right? So again, it's all there for you. All right. Well, I'm gonna, keep this brief. I look forward to working with you this semester. I really hope to meet, some of you in person. Again, please, any Tuesday, Thursday, feel free to come to my office hours. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to, set up a meeting with me. And I hope we have a great semester, right? Again, we are only together for 8 weeks, so let's, make the most of it. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you online. Bye bye. Have a great day.